This video is sponsored by Aura.
Due to the graphic nature of this program, viewer discretion is advised.
The etic, or scholarly definition of Satanism, is the veneration of Satan expressed into a coherent system of thought. The emic, or an actual practitioner's definition, may be vastly different depending on who you ask. That's because within Satanism exist many different paths, philosophies, doctrines, practices, beliefs, satanic orders, and so on. Rather than try to define Satanism, this video is an exploration of Satanism and an exploration into the occult. We'll be exploring occult practices such as summoning demons, worshipping demons, astral projection, psychic vampirism, qliphothic initiation, Solomonic magic, and a lot more. Satanism prioritizes the individual, often practicing self-deification or being your own god. Individuals are free to decide which practice they adopt or reject. We'll also talk about the history that shaped Satanism throughout the years. Satanism is different from devil worship. However, we'll be going down the rabbit hole, talking about satanic orders such as the Order of the Nine Angles that partake in the darkest practices. Check the end of the video for further clarification on terms such as Satanism, Satanist, and much more, as well as many exciting updates. This is part 1 of a 4-part series. Welcome to the Satanism Iceberg.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Quick announcement. So my mom got her data stolen. Someone found out where I live by Googling my name. Kendrick Lamar has not responded to Drake. Can life be worse? Correction, he responded, and boy did he respond. Have you guys ever Googled your own name? Go try it out. It's scary. You type in the search bar and then Google's just like, yep, he lives here. It's insane. What's terrifying is that sometimes it's the companies you trust that are the ones putting your personal information out there on display. Recently, AT&T confirmed that over 73 million of their former and their current customers have had their data leaked directly into the dark web. They recommend that those affected use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. As someone who's seen this happen firsthand, my practical advice is to prevent it. But prevention can be time-consuming and require multiple services. That's why I'm excited to partner with and present today's sponsor, Aura. Aura protects the whole family from scams, online predators, fraud, and has some incredibly savvy features, such as credit monitoring, utilizing the very best Experian. Aura identifies the data brokers who sell private information and submits requests to opt out of these practices on your behalf. You no longer have to wonder if your data is leaked somewhere. Aura will show you exactly who's attempting nefarious activity, putting the control back into your own hands. It has great parental controls to keep the children safe and keeps you from being a statistic of online crime. Find out where your data's been and see how much better you feel when you take control of your online presence. You get a free 2-week trial when you click my link aura.com/cryptidcandy. It's in the description and the pinned comment of this video. I made sure that the link doesn't expire so that you can all try it whenever you see this. Thank you again to Aura for sponsoring this video. Tier 1. Anton LaVey. Born on April 11, 1930, Anton LaVey was the founder of the Church of Satan and the author of the Satanic Bible, amongst other publications. He is considered one of the most influential figures in modern Satanism. He was a musician, worked as a crime scene photographer, and allegedly had an affair with Marilyn Monroe. He founded the Church of Satan on April 30th, 1966, and published the Satanic Bible in 1969. His church held satanic rituals, orgies, and seminars in a now demolished building known as the Black House. He is sometimes referred to as the Black Pope. He conducted black masses, satanic baptisms, satanic weddings, and funerals. and he was an extravagant personality, featured on many talk shows. The Church of Satan practices what is now known as LaVeyan Satanism, a religion that emphasizes individualism and egoism. This branch of Satanism has nothing to do with devil worship. The Church of Satan does not believe in the existence of Satan, demons, or any supernatural deity. The church only embraces the image and symbol of Satan for its association with nonconformity and rebellion, encouraging the indulgence of any carnal desire. It's not about preparing for an afterlife, it's about here and now. It embraces the 7 deadly sins because they all lead to mental gratification. It teaches self-deification, or being your own God, showing kindness only to those who deserve it, and being selective with who you choose to love, choosing vengeance instead of turning the other cheek, embracing all the things that are often associated with the devil, such as pride and lust. There are no human sacrifices, there is no killing of any children or animals. In fact, the Satanic Bible strictly forbids and condemns these practices. Make no mistake, these things do happen, but they're just not associated with the Church of Satan or most satanic orders. We'll talk about that a little further down the iceberg. The Church of Satan recognizes the human need for ceremony, ritual, and dogma, hence the practice of magic. In this context, magic is referred to in 2 distinct forms: greater and lesser magic. Greater magic is a form of ritual practice meant to focus one's emotional energy for an intentional purpose. Greater magic is generally focused on 3 major themes, which include compassion, lust, and destruction. Greater magic is meant to be cathartic, a psychodrama filled with occult aesthetics, a culmination of energy and emotion focused into a release. A destruction ritual, for example, can be used to hex someone. While Anton LaVey doesn't claim that these rituals have any mystical powers or any real magical effects, it's the ritualistic practice itself that can help cleanse practitioners from the baggage of unresolved emotions such as anger. Now, lesser magic is the practice of manipulation. This manipulation is meant to be used to bend the will of another individual or a situation to your own liking. Lesser magic can be described as a system of applied psychology. In Anton LaVey's book, The Satanic Witch, LaVey describes how to interpret personality types, lifestyle preferences, sexual preferences, even things like how to read a person's pupils in a given situation, this and much more, in order to understand an individual's underlying desires, behaviors, and tendencies. Lesser magic, after all, is all about knowing how to get exactly what you want. Anton LaVey believed that people are usually attracted to their opposites. Understanding this can help develop skills in manipulation. He developed a system that presents a gradient of tendencies called a personality synthesizer clock. It's categorized into 4 main types: fire, earth, air, and water, each element falling into a different area on the clock. For example, the 12 o'clock represents the more dominant masculine qualities attributed to the element of fire, and the 6 o'clock would be the counterpart, representing the element of water, embodying the more feminine spirit. Where someone lands on the clock can vary based upon someone's body type, choice of alcohol, their scent, and other attributes. I'm generalizing, and there's way more to this book, but I just want to give a brief introduction to just how intricate and detailed LaVey's publications are. The terms Satanic and Satanism can be traced back to sometime in the 1560s. The term was used to demonize certain groups and practices. Born in 1868, Polish novelist Stanisław Piszebuszewski would refer to himself as a Satanist, publishing books like The Children of Satan and The Synagogue of Satan, both published in 1897. While there are many other occult organizations with quote-unquote satanic elements to their practice that predate the Church of Satan, modern Satanism is widely attributed to the influence of Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan. Anton LaVey died on October 29, 1997. The Church of Satan remains active to this day. Lucien Greaves, Satanic Temple. Douglas Menzner, better known as Lucien Greaves, is a spokesman and co-founder of the Satanic Temple. Like the Church of Satan, the Satanic Temple is non-theistic, meaning they don't believe in God, demons, Satan, or any supernatural deities. The Satanic Temple instead focuses on personal sovereignty, independence, and free will. Satan is embraced as a symbol of rebellion but is not worshipped. Lucien Greaves speaks at many universities throughout the United States and public events, fighting for true religious freedom and freedom of expression. In July 2016, they began an after-school program for children called After School Satan to ensure that all religions are equally represented and upheld within public schools. The program follows a standard syllabus and strives to provide students with the critical thinking skills necessary to make important life decisions for themselves and offers a non-superstitious worldview. Lucien Greaves faces many death threats as he fights for these religious rights, but continues to do so courageously. On June 10, 2022, a man named Daniel Lucy attempted to set fire to the Satanic Temple, stating that they were devil worshippers and quote-unquote needed to be wiped out. Despite obstacles, the Satanic Temple fights to protect children, whether it be physically or mentally. They fight for reproductive rights and equal and fair religious representation. The Satanic Temple is making unprecedented progress. At the end of 2023, in the Iowa State Capitol, the Satanic Temple set up a display alongside other religious displays causing pushback and controversy. The Satanic Temple's headquarters are located in Salem, Massachusetts, and I heard that their gift shop is pretty great. D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game centered around spiritual and magical themes created in 1974. Throughout its history, the game has received attention for allegedly promoting Satanism, witchcraft, suicide, and murder. Satanic Panic was in full effect. For those who don't know, Satanic Panic in the early 1980s and the early 1990s was a moral panic in the United States marked by widespread fear and unfounded allegations of satanic ritual abuse, allegedly pervasive throughout different forms of media, allegedly targeting children and young adults. Media coverage and sensationalized claims of secret satanic cults fueled the panic, though further investigations would later discredit many of these allegations. During this time, the public feared that D&D players were practicing actual magic and summoning real demons. In 1979, the disappearance and death of James Dallas Egbert III was blamed on Dungeons & Dragons. In 1982, the death of Irving Lee Pulling was also blamed on Dungeons & Dragons. His mother, Patricia Pulling, would sue her son's principal who held D&D game events for students. She claimed that a curse placed upon her son's character in the game was real, leading to his actual death. In 1983, Patricia formed BADD, Bothered About Dungeons & Dragons, a campaign claiming that the game led to the practice of demonology, witchcraft, voodoo, murder, satanic rituals, necromancy, amongst other things. Throughout the years, many more deaths were blamed on Dungeons & Dragons, but controversy died down by the late 1990s. Rock/metal tracks. Rock, metal, and Satan have built an innate association with one another. Some bands are known for having members that partake in satanic occult practices, while some bands such as Slayer use satanic symbolism, words, and imagery for aesthetic purposes. Other musicians take Satanism to another level. Beyond satanic lyrics, some bands, particularly in black metal, have taken satanic practices into violent physical events. While black metal originates from a band called Venom, mayhem is one of the most brutal satanic examples in music. The band believed in a theistic form of Satanism, meaning they believed in the existence of an actual devil. The band was tied to the burning of churches in Norway and many deaths. Now, this obviously doesn't scratch the surface with mayhem. Another black metal band called Dissection is a notable mention. A member named John Nodovid would be found dead inside of a circle of lit candles and a satanic grimoire laid in front of him. For those who don't know, a grimoire is a book of spells. He was part of the Temple of the Black Light, a satanic occult order that we'll be covering further down the iceberg. Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley was an English occultist born on October 12, 1875. It's important to note that Crowley was by no means a Satanist. He didn't identify as a Satanist, but his influence on the occult is undeniable. Despite his traditional Christian upbringing, Crowley always had a thirst for the dark side of life. He obsessed over the idea of speaking to the devil and summoning demons. He intentionally explored the depths of sin. He conducted experiments to see if cats actually had 9 lives. He would find cats to burn, drown, stab, gas, smash, and throw out of windows. He was a sex addict from an early age, and when he was caught having sex with the parlor maid on his mother's bed, his mother would give him the nickname the Beast 666, a name he would embrace for the rest of his life. Because he inherited a large wealth from his father, he spent most of his life traveling, studying, and participating in different branches of the occult. He was a member of prominent and influential occult groups such as the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, where he literally forced his way to the top. In 1904, Crowley summoned an Egyptian deity named Ios. Over the course of 3 days, Crowley wrote the teachings channeled through the Egyptian deity and later titled the text the Book of the Law. The Book of the Law laid the foundations to his religion, Thelema. Thelema is a Greek word that means will. Thelema's doctrine can be summarized by one phrase: do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Do what thou wilt does not mean do what you want. Thelema teaches that will is not a want or a passing desire. Will is our essential nature that needs to be expressed and fulfilled through action in the world. By combining your will with a divine will, it will lead to your self-development and ultimate fulfillment. Crowley famously practiced and advocated sex magic, where one uses ceremonial magic, visualizations, incantations, and much more to achieve desired intentions and to reach higher states of consciousness. He would consume bodily fluids as a sacred act. Those who partake in his religion, Thelema, sometimes consume cake of light, which were his version of Catholic wafers made of flour, honey, olive oil, male semen, and menstrual blood, but not limited to other variations. He was known to keep actual human skeletons and would practice necromancy. Aleister Crowley's last act on Earth was cursing his own doctor. In Crowley's final days, his doctor suspected that Crowley was misusing morphine. He refused to give Crowley any more when he would ask. In a fit of rage, Crowley cursed the doctor, and in less than 24 hours, the doctor was dead. Aleister Crowley died in 1947. Of course, there is way more to Crowley, like how he was the one who added a K at the end of the word magic in order to differentiate ritual magic from stage magic. His name is tied to other influential orders such as the Ordo Templi Orientis and the AA. And no, I don't mean Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, this doesn't even scratch the surface on Aleister Crowley, a man known as the wickedest man in the world. Baphomet. The cross-legged sabbatic goat is one of the most famous esoteric images in history. The name Baphomet stretches back centuries to a letter that was written in 1098 by Anselm of Ribamont. It was written during the First Crusade. The Crusades were holy wars directed by the Latin Church. According to these scripts, Muslims would call upon an entity named Baphomet right before battle. It is believed by scholars that the name Baphomet was actually misheard and misinterpreted, while Islamic soldiers were calling out for the name Mohammed during these wars. In Old French, the name Mohammed is pronounced Mahomet, which more than likely was misheard as Baphomet. The most famous early association with Baphomet occurred with the Knights Templar. The Knights Templar was founded in 1119. They were a Christian military order in charge of protecting pilgrims and guarding holy sites, such as the Temple of Solomon. The Knights Templar rose to great fame and power, maybe too much power. Even King Philip IV was indebted to the order. Soon the Knights Templar became the focal point of accusations. They were imprisoned and tortured for allegedly committing multiple heresies, such as urinating and spitting on crucifixes, practicing forbidden arts, and many other things, but most famously, they were accused of worshipping Baphomet. Starting in 1307 in trial transcripts, some members of the Knights Templar would admit to worshipping Baphomet. Scholars believe they were tortured into false confessions. Soldiers were asked to describe Baphomet's appearance. Some said Baphomet was a three-faced demon, others claimed that it had a severed head, but it's believed that they most likely were just making things up to stop further torture. While the alleged demonic entity is ingrained in the shadowy history of the Knights Templar, the image of Baphomet is a fairly modern occurrence. The depiction of Baphomet came from a drawing that was first published in 1854. French occultist Eliphas Levi would present the androgynous sabbatic goat in his publication titled Dogma de la Haute Magie, later translated into Transcendental Magic. He referred to the depiction as the Goat of Mendes and the sabbatic goat. Mendes is the Greek name for the ancient Egyptian city of Jedet. The god of Jedet, or the god of Mendes, was depicted with a goat's face and legs. The goat is also associated with Pan, a god from Greek mythology. The sabbatic goat represents astral light, which is the medium between the physical and spiritual world and the secret to all magic. Eliphas Levi drew inspiration from the devil in the Marseille deck, or the early tarot. According to Eliphas Levi, the image was conjured to be the symbolization of equilibrium of opposites. The sabbatic goat demonstrates polarity throughout. Half male, half female, half human, half animal, one hand pointing up and the other pointing down, representing the Hermetic concept of as above, so below. The right hand pointing up towards the white moon of Chesed, symbolizing love and kindness, while the left hand points down to the dark moon of Gavura, symbolizing the essence of judgment, together representing the perfect harmony of mercy and justice. And as a side note, Chesed and Gavura are divine emanations on the Tree of Life deriving from Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. We'll speak a little bit more on that further down the iceberg. On one arm, we find the Latin word solve, which translates to dissolve, and on the other arm, we find the word coagula, translating to coagulate. This is a symbolic Latin alchemical phrase, solvit coagula, that means breaking down of the elements before reforming it into something new. On the forehead is a pentagram symbolizing life and spirit over matter. Over his head is the flame of intelligence, the magic light of universal balance. The Baphomet of Levi became important to Aleister Crowley and the cosmology of his religion, the Lima. Crowley would say that Baphomet symbolized arcane perfection and was a symbol of true magic. The sigil of Baphomet is the official insignia of the Church of Satan. The sigil of Baphomet places the goat's head inside of an inverted pentagram to symbolize matter over spirit, earthly desires and principles. While the name Baphomet most likely came from a misheard Mohammed or Mahomet, Eliphas Levi's depiction of Baphomet has become an integral figure in the occult and satanic world. Backmasking. Backmasking is a recording technique where a message is recorded and revealed when a record is played backwards. This technique allows musicians to hide subliminal messages in their songs. The first record to contain backmasking was on a record called Car Trouble, released in 1959 by a band called the Eligibles. Though the first band to popularize the craft was the Beatles during their recording of Revolver in 1966. Throughout the years, many bands have been accused or have revealed planting subliminal messages in their songs via backmasking. A famous example is the song Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin, where they allegedly make many references to Satan when the song is played backwards. Backmasking was a technique advocated by Aleister Crowley, who suggested that magicians should listen to phonograph records backwards so that one can quote-unquote train himself to think backwards by external means. He believed that if you wanted to know how a trick was done, you had to reverse engineer the process, and listening to something backwards was a way of training your brain to become more efficient at this. Fake human sacrifice accusations. Many Satanists are accused of human sacrifice alongside animal sacrifice. These allegations are mostly stereotypical ignorance. Satanism is widely misunderstood, and it leads to many false allegations from the media and those with negative predisposed perspectives. While many of these allegations are entirely fabricated, further down the iceberg, we'll speak about certain satanic branches that partake in real, human and animal sacrifice. Scholars like Dr. Per Faxneld, who specialize in Satanism, speak about how sometimes people ask him if things are a certain way within Satanism. He then has to explain that there are different forms of Satanism. There isn't just one form. Now, this would differ from what a member of the Church of Satan might say. Anton LaVey codified Satanism, meaning he put a system in place with clear rules and lines for what Satanism is and what Satanism is not. Now, while this is referred to as LaVeyan Satanism by scholars, to a practitioner, it's just Satanism. Satanism is defined by the system that Anton LaVey put into place in the Satanic Bible. So why do scholars talk about forms of Satanism while some practitioners may say there are no forms? Well, it really comes down to etic or emic definitions and or perspectives. The terms Satanist and Satanism predate Anton LaVey by 500 years, and what we now know today as modern Satanism has a deep history. As I touched on a little earlier, the terms Satanism and Satanist were historically used to accuse people of worshiping the devil, and that's why theistic Satanists, or those who actually believe in the existence of the devil, sometimes identify as traditional Satanist. In the late 1800s, Stanisław Przybyszewski identified as a Satanist and wrote books like The Children of Satan, and his fans called themselves the Children of Satan. Scholars do point out that this does fit the etic or scholarly description of Satanism. Stanisław Przybyszewski is considered to be the very first self-identified Satanist, at least that we have record of, and he is considered to be the precursor of contemporary intellectual Satanism. Then you have Ben Kadash, who was distributing Luciferian pamphlets in the early 1900s trying to recruit members for his satanic circle. In 1932, the Brotherhood of the Golden Arrow was organized by Maria de Neglasco, who referred to herself as a satanic woman. The organization had satanic elements to it, with Satan as one of the central figures. There have been many scholarly attempts to define Satanism. Usually there are two main scholarly definitions: the veneration of Satan expressed into a system of thought, or a system of thought built around the positive reinterpretation of Satan. As you can see, many organizations can fall under the etic definition of Satanism. Going back to the emic definition of Satanism, well, that would be defined by the Satanic Bible. So when I say satanic orders, I genuinely mean organizations with satanic elements, meaning Satan is one of the central figures within their belief system. Because I am touching on Satanism from an etic perspective, I know that there is a duty to provide clear lines for what I am talking about and what I am not talking about. Because like I said, 99% of Satanists are not partaking in anything crazy, dangerous, harmful, or anything like that. In fact, they're probably some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. And the 1%, I'm only speaking about the 1% that identify as Satanist, right? And by the way, I am aware also that some Satanists may identify as Satanists and have nothing to do with Anton LaVey, the Church of Satan, or, it just means so much to different people that I'm not trying to narrow anything down to any box. Just letting you know that I am aware of those perspectives and that I will be providing clear lines as the next couple of videos drop, because that's when it gets a little crazier. Because I already did the research and wrote the script, I'm going to make the complete raw videos for Patreon, and then I'm going to edit those videos and make them suitable for YouTube. There's just a lot of stuff in this iceberg, specifically in the next 3 parts, that I just can't really mention on YouTube. So go to Patreon if you want those details, but I'm going to make sure you get the full story here on YouTube. So don't worry if you don't want to go to Patreon. That's just if you really want those details, things I can't say. I also added my personal Discord on my Patreon, so if you want to talk to me directly, Patreon's a way to get my Discord. comment and email me if you have any piece of information that you believe has to be mentioned. Every entry, I'm trying to give you a little bit more than usual icebergs do. For example, tier 3 is an hour, just tier 3. So I'm trying to go in on these entries, but if there's something that you think I should mention, please comment, email. So that way, when I drop the complete iceberg all in one video, which is going to be a monstrous, I don't even know how many hours long this video is going to be. It's going to include your suggestions and or corrections if I mess up on something. So leave your comments. I hope you check out Patreon where you can get, all the stuff. And as always, I will see you in the next one.
One of the most important things, when we dedicate our soul to Satan, Satan looks out for us. When we're under the protection of Satan and his demons, we have nothing to fear. I mean, we can go as far as we want to.
Joy of Satan. Joy of Satan Ministries is a controversial website and Western esoteric occult organization founded in 2002 by Andrea M. Dietrich.